Welcome to Blender Basics number 7. We're going to go over how to put in some curves. We're going to make an object with those curves, and we're going to put some physics to this and actually get some animation going on. So once you bring up your home screen on Blender, we're going to click in the background there. I'm going to press the letter A twice, and that will select all objects. Now I'm going to press X, and I'm going to delete all those objects. The next thing I'm going to do is add a path. So you do Shift A, and then you don't choose a mesh, you choose a curve. Down at the bottom you'll see here's path. I'm going to click on path, I'm going to press S, and I'm going to scale that up a little bit. I want a little longer path. So right now it looks like just a straight line. We're going to change that by going to Edit Mode. You can either do that by clicking on the menu down here, or you can press the Tab button. The other way that you can change things and go to the edit mode is by pressing the Tab button. So you can press Tab and we'll switch back and forth between edit mode and object mode. So now that we're here, you can see in edit mode that we have some little directional arrows on our path. If we select in the middle, we have a little vertex. I'm going to change our path a little bit. I'm going to bring up the middle one there. I'm going to bring this one up a little ways. Now you can see that we're changing our path. And this will actually be the basis for the shape of the object that we're going to make. Because once we have some sort of a path selected, I'm now going to go back to object mode by pressing the Tab key. And it looks like a line, but it's actually a path for an object to follow. So I'm going to go ahead and press Shift A. I'm going to add another curve, but this time a circle. I'm going to press the letter G. Let's move it off to the side. I'm going to press the letter S because I want to make it smaller. So I'm choosing the scale. Now select the original path. Come up to the top over here. We're going to select the curve object data. And we're going to come down to bevel object. We click on the middle of there and we select the circle that we put in. Now all of a sudden we have a tube, we have a pipe, we have an exhaust manifold, we have something going on here that could be kind of interesting that we could use in a lot of different ways. If I select my original circle that I put in, I'm going to scale that down even more because that's a pretty big pipe, a little bit big for the tube. And as I select my circle and scale, we change what's happening with our object that we're building. The other neat thing about this, until I change this into an actual mesh, I can continue to edit it by editing the path. So I'm going to flip back over to edit mode, and if I get into my path, I can select things and I can continue to edit what is happening here with my path. I can even press the E and I can extrude, and I come out with something that will move around quite a bit. So now I'm going to leave it about there, have an interesting looking pipe, but it's not really a mesh. This is still a path and it needs to be changed into a mesh. So I'm going to go ahead and click back on Tab. It takes me back to the object mode. I'm going to make sure that my object is selected. I'm going to press Alt-C. Alt-C gets us to this menu. I'm going to change it from the curve into a mesh. So I'm going to go ahead and click on there. Now I can't really edit this object nearly as easily. If I flip back on Tab, you can see that it has made it into an entire mesh. There is no longer the path to be seen. We now have an object. Flip back to object mode, but that means we can do some neat things with this object. I'm going to come up to the top over here. I'm going to find the bouncing ball. That's the physics tab. I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to click on rigid body. Once I click on rigid body, I can change it from active to passive because I don't want this to move. It's just going to stay there. I'm going to change the shape from convex hull to mesh because I want to put a sphere in the middle of this and allow it to move through the tube. And if I leave it on convex hull, it'll actually spit it back out, but mesh will allow it to go through the middle. So now that I have that set, And you notice that when I clicked on the rigid body, it turned from a yellow selection to a green outline. That green outline lets you know that physics is attached to that object. I'm going to go ahead and add another object at this time. I'm going to do a Shift A. I'm going to add a mesh. I'm going to add a UV sphere. We now have a sphere. So this sphere is a little bit big for what I want it to be, so I'm going to press S and I'm going to scale it down quite a ways. I'm going to move it over to the mouth of this pipe. So give me just a moment here to get that into proper alignment. And we're almost there. Going to bring it over to the top just a little bit more. Looks like my sphere is still a little bit big. So once I have it lined up about over the mouth, to make sure, you got to keep on looking from side to side to make sure you're lined up, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, or else it'll just drop to the top and stick. So I'm going to press S and I'm going to scale that down. And now I'm going to also put physics to this object, because if I were to play the animation, nothing would happen right now because there's no physics on the ball, and this tube is passive, so it's not going to move anywhere. So with the sphere selected, I'm going to click on Rigid Body. I'm going to change it from Convex Hull to Mesh, and I'm going to leave the active alone because I do want it to move, so it needs to be active. And I'm going to click here and change the weight up to about 10. Once that's done, I'm going to come over here to the arrow key at the bottom, and let's see if this goes all the way through the tube. So watch the ball as it goes through. You can see it's moving through the tube, staying inside the tube. Didn't quite make it over that curve. So let's go ahead and change some settings and let's see what happens. I'm going to come down here to my ball and my sphere. I'm going to change the resistance or the friction from whatever it was set at to 0.1. And then let's see what happens when I rewind and I play my animation again. So here it slides down, slides through, and drops out the bottom. So that's how you can make a basic shape really quickly. You can make some interesting shapes, you can put some physics to some things, and start getting some things to move around. Hope you enjoy your newfound Blender skills.